Hello there guys, it's me Jared Griffiths again, and I'm going to review the film Pardon Us, which stars Laurel and Hardy, of course Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, and as always their characters' names are also, their actual characters' names are Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, which they always did with their films. And it also stars June Monlowe, Wilfred, Lucus, James Finlayson, Walter Long, Tiny Sandford and Charlie Hall. And this film is about Stan and Ollie go to jail for concocting and selling their own home brew, and it's basically about them in prison, and they and the stuff that goes on in there, and they break out of prison at one point, which I'll get to later. And and this was their first ever feature-length film. They started doing short films. They started in the silent era, and towards the end of the silent era, or when they started working together at least, and they moved seamlessly into to sound films. And unlike a lot of other 1930s comedy teams like the Marx Brothers or the Three Stooges, they didn't start in vaudeville. They started in their short film. They would just happen to be in films together, and their producer Hal Roach saw they had some sort of magic together, and he decided to make them comedy duo, Laurel and Hardy. And this film, even though it's the first one, it's not one people really mention as much. And I think there's one thing in this movie I kind of know why, but I'll get to that later. But I do really enjoy this film about them being in jail and stuff. And there's this running joke in the film about one of Stan's Stan has a toothache, and it always makes a noise after he says something, and he has to hold it there to make it not make the noise. And they have Walter Long playing the character of what the tiger it was, and he's this real tough guy. And because even though Laurel and Hardy are criminals and they go to jail, they're not really bad guys, but he's a really tough guy. And when Stan does it, he thinks, well done, I like a guy who's brave enough to raspberry the tiger. And then Ollie does it, and then he hits him. That was funny. And there's a scene in this where Stan has to get his tooth pulled, and he's scared to do it, and they pull Ollie's tooth by mistake. And I think they kind of got the idea of that from a silent short they did called Leave 'Em Laughing, which was about Stan getting his tooth pulled. And there was also a Three Stooges short called what was it? I Can Hardly Wait. That was it, which is about Curly having a toothache and getting it pulled and stuff. I think they kind of got the Three Stooges would have gotten inspiration from this, and I think this was probably got inspiration from their own short Leave 'Em Laughing. Now and another scene where we have James Finlayson as the prison school teacher. That scene is just so funny. It is just so hysterical. Just thinking about that scene just makes me laugh. I mean, and they make them sing a song which may sound a bit familiar. They sing, "Good morning to you, good morning to you, good morning dear teacher, good morning to you." If that sounds familiar, it's because that's actually the happy birthday song. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. which I think apparently at first, like, that happy birthday song, it used to be good morning to you instead of happy birthday, but when it was like special occasions they'd change it, like if it was someone's birthday, you know, they'd sing happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, or if it was like Christmas or something, they'd sing Merry Christmas to you, Merry Christmas to you. So that's an interesting thing about this film. But yeah, the prison school scene is so funny. Now, I like to address the elephant in the room about this film. This is kind of a reason why I think, like, people might not really bring this up as one of the best films, even though there are a lot of other old films that have this problem. There's quite a long scene in this film where they break out of jail and they go to Harlem or somewhere, I don't know, somewhere with lots of black people, and they disguise themselves in blackface. Yeah, I think, like, they didn't mean any harm, but they didn't see anything wrong with it. At the time they just thought it was just normal, but of course now it's, you know, really shocking and stuff. Yeah, it is pretty bad, but I mean, they don't really act stereotypical when they've got the blackface on. Like, they act kind of normal, but it is definitely offensive and inappropriate by today's standards. But yeah, the song Ollie sings, Lazy Moon, that is a good song, and yeah, I will admit, it was kind of funny when Stan called Ollie Sambo. I know that's racist, but that was funny. He's like, Oliver, Sambo. I'm sorry, yeah, but yeah, but yeah, apart from that, it is apart from that whole scene, it is very funny still. Yeah, it is a very funny film. It's not the best Laurel and Hardy film, but it was a great, you know, introduction to their feature-length films. You know, I like them with a lot of feature-length films. They had them like going places, like in like the shorts they were usually in the same sort of normal place. Like in their feature films they'd usually go places, like in this one when they go to jail, and there's a Chump at Oxford where they go to England. There's Bonnie Scotland where they go to Scotland, obviously. There's Swiss Miss where they go to Switzerland. Way Out West where they go way out west, obviously. What else? There's the Flying Deuces where they go to in the Foreign Legion, and Pack Up Your Troubles as well when they go in the army in World War One. But yeah, really, really, truly great film. Great introduction to Laurel and Hardy into feature films, and bye.